when I hear a blog, and obviously blogs have kind of taken a slow step back. I don't hear the popularity of them as much now. And there are still very, very successful blogs, but now podcasts, there's different forms of media that have taken kind of higher presence. When you look at a blog, I would never think of somebody selling their blog. So for you to build a company as a blog and sell it, talk me through that whole process. And how did you build it? Was it, and I mean, I'm just going to assume it was the value of your email list or whether values of it, but how did you build it up to sell a blog? Go through that process for anybody out there that has a blog.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this question because I did it very much on purpose. Like I might seem like, oh, Liz, you know, you get on the phone with her, she's really fun, whatever, but I'm actually really strategic. So I'm so excited you asked me this question. I don't get often asked. So when I started my blog, my website, I started it as a business. Like I said earlier, I wanted to make money. I wanted to elevate my status, hit the road full time, you know, like, hey, did you know we could drive this thing? It has wheels, right? And so I started it very strategically. And of course, you know, you listen to podcasts, you watch webinars, everyone says, email list, build your email list. So mama didn't raise no fool. I'm nothing if not an efficient chick. And so I started building the list. I created my first digital product. About 6 months later, I made $7,000 in the first 90 days. I was like, holy crap, I'm onto something. I've never made this much money.
What was your first digital product?
It was a book about the black tank, which is where the sewage goes. It was called Tales from the Black Tank, a collection of hilariously crappy RV stories. And let that be inspiration to the listeners. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I just can't sell anything, or I don't know if my idea is good enough. Like if I can sell a book about poop, knowing almost nothing, you can do anything. I believe in you.
That's gonna be that line's gonna be the selling feature of this podcast. I love it.
Yeah, like let's snippet that, make sure that makes it on Instagram stories. Yeah, so then I created the summit. I created assets for the site, and it was about 2 years in that I realized that, like you said, like with the avatar, I was like, well, I don't care. I mean, I care about these people because they're people, but I don't care to sell them stuff anymore. I want to sell this site. I know that I'm really smart. I want to do something else. I don't know what that something else is, but I know this isn't my forever home, right? Mm-hmm. And so I hired a project manager, and I was making money with ads, affiliates. I was selling my book, a couple other products that I had built over the last couple of years. And she looked at me and she said, Liz, this is all great. And I know, you want to get all this together and build out some funnels, but all of this is other people's money. Like you're building affiliates companies, you're doing this, you're doing that. You need a real asset for your business, like your own digital course. So I said, okay, enough said. I created a course on RV maintenance, and I had 141 people on the wait list, and by cart close I had made 141 sales. So I really knew when we talked about Avatar earlier, I really knew them.
What were you selling there? What was your price point for that? Which I think is very important.
It was a beta for $99. And again, that's knowing your person, right? These people don't even pay for electricity and don't know what a digital course is. I'm not going to come out the gate asking for $1,000, right?
Yeah, of course.
You really got to know that avatar. So once that happened, I started selling the course again and again. And within a year, I had 400 students and I had sold the blog.
Very, very good. So this is just for another question for the audience that anybody that's running a similar business than you were at that moment. How do you separate yourself from being Liz, the face of this blog, the face of this business, to another individual that could continue running the business? How do you separate that? Because there's a lot of, I was a very strong believer 10 years ago, separate yourself from the business. Because I run a couple of companies, separate some myself. Because if you ever want to exit strategy, you want to eliminate yourself as the brand. I've changed that. Now I'm trying to really focus the last 2 years on building myself as a brand. How do you, when you are selling something like that, separate yourself, Liz, separating from the brand to be able to sell it? Does it make any sense, that question?
Yeah, 100%. Y'all, we need to stop and pause and go rate this podcast because that's a great follow-up question. I'm so excited. Yeah, so that was a thing. So one of the things I didn't mention was when I started my business, when I, started the website, I didn't know what to name it. So of course, I go into Facebook groups, everyone says, oh, well, name it your name, lizwilcox.com. And, it can evolve with you. If you decide you don't want to talk about RVing later, it's still Liz Wilcox. You can talk about whatever. And so that's what I did. And it was about 10 months in that I realized that one day, like, I'm building an asset. I'm not building my forever. Right. And so I was thinking, well, how can I make this more about the community than about Liz? Right.
Yeah.
And it was just perfect that it was, about RVing and camping, which is a very communal thing. So I actually changed the domain, changed the name, took Liz Wilcox out of it, put that on the back burner, and then it was called the virtualcampground.com.
Okay.
And my welcome sequences, all my messaging changed to not be about, let's get Liz on the road. That's her dream. To like, this is your dream. This is what you want.
Okay.
The virtual campground itself is going to help you. And Liz is the camp host, right? So whatever your business is, obviously camp host won't fit for everyone. But you're basically the facilitator. And when I sold the business, that was my main objection was, oh my gosh, well, you're Liz Wilcox. Because by the time I sold it, I was starting to get recognized at campgrounds. I was starting to be asked to speak. I was really making a name for the virtual campground. They said, well, you're Liz. When you get on the screen, everybody loves you. Everybody loves your emails. We know who you are. How can we carry that on? And I had to, show them behind the scenes how I had been taking Liz out of the entire business for years. Even that course I created, I hired someone to create the content. I was in none of the videos.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Because when we were speaking prior, like my mindset was you were still front faced for this whole project. And then once you try to sell it, how do you just separate? Okay. So you answered that really, really good. Because a lot of people, they're building their brands around their social following, their pretty much their likeness. And then all of a sudden they try to sell that brand and they're stuck with that company, whether they're on a contract for a year or 2 years. There's a lot of moving parts there that really, really could either stop or really slow the process of selling the brand or the company.